Adam knew that on earth he had to face conflict and struggle. He had to protect himself and his wife and children from earthly creature. The amount of regret our father and mother had, no one can imagine it. What we go through is nothing compared to what they went through. To have everything in Jannah, then to be told, leave it and live on earth. Adam continued to regret for centuries. Then Adam realized the past is in the past and I have to focus on the future. To live our righteous life, then I will be allowed to enter it. Allah told Adam, I will continue to send you guidance to you and your progeny. فَأَمَّا يَأْتِينَاكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى فَمَن تَبَعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. I will continue to send guidance to whoever follow, and there will be no fear, nor they will grieve. Now Hawa's first birth was a twin of a boy and a girl. The boy name is Qabil, which in English is Cain. The second birth was another twin, and the boy name is Habil, which is in English Abel. As growing up, both of them had different personality. Qabil had aggressive behavior, hard-headed and harder to get along with. He didn't like animals, so he took a job as a farmer. Habil was more easygoing, softer heart and pious, and he became a shepherd. As growing up, the commandment was given, twins from the same birth cannot marry each other. They must marry from the opposite birth. So each time Hawa would have children, it would be one boy, one girl. So the boy and girl cannot marry each other. They have to marry from the opposite birth. So Qabil cannot marry his sister. He must marry his brother twin, which is Habil. So Qabil was displeased with the partner chosen from him, as she was not beautiful as his own. Argument broke out. They went to their dad, and Adam asked Allah. Then he was given the commandment to do a sacrifice. Each of them presented the sacrifice, but it was only accepted from Abel. The fire struck the sacrifice, because back then, because there was no poor people, so to do a sacrifice, you have to leave a sheep on a mountain, and Allah will strike it, which got accepted, which was a sign. Habil told his brother, "Oh my brother, if you turn to Allah, He will bless you and give you what you want." And Qabil replied, "I will kill you." Habil replied, "My brother, if you reach out to kill me, I will not reach back." Now Habil was intelligent, obedient, purity and compassion. Qabil was arrogant, selfish and disobedient to his Lord. As days passed by, the idea of killing his brother became a thought. He began to imagine it more and more and more. The feeling of him losing what he desired to his brother becoming a reality. He began to stalk his brother daily basis. As his brother laying down, watching the cattle, Shaitan began to whisper to throw a rock on his head. So the Shaitan began to give him an idea how to kill his brother. Qabil did not intend to kill, otherwise he would be carrying a weapon with him or carrying a knife. But the amount of anger and hatred, he began to sneak behind him. He picked up a rock and struck him, killing him instantly. This was the first death and the first criminal act by a man on earth. He was shocked as he see blood flowing and his brother is not breathing. This is the first time he ever witnessed death. He immediately felt remorse and began to cry. He ran off and left the body there. When he went home, Adam asked, "Where is your brother?" He said, "My brother, why should I know what he is?" Immediately Adam knew something is wrong. He went back to the body and he began to curse himself. He felt extreme anger. He did not know what to do with the body. So after a few days, the body began to give a smell. And again, this is the first time they witnessed death. Go ahead, Muhammad.
فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين.
Then Allah sent two crows fighting. One buried the other to show him how to bury the body, the dead body. His brother, which is a murderer, said, "Woe to me, am I not be able to do the same as this crow and hide the body of my dead brother?" So because he didn't know how to bury his brother, this is the first death on earth. Then he became one of those who regret. Now pay attention to this. He regretted, but he did not intend to repent. So he had a lot of remorse, but he did not one time say, "Allah forgive me." After the burial, he went home. His father began to ask questions. with the amount of remorse Qabil had, he grabbed his, because with the amount of remorse he had, he didn't want to stay in where he's at. So he grabbed his twin and ran off with her. Even after all the guilt and the remorse, Qabil did not one time in his life ask Allah to forgive him. And we have authentic hadith about every death after him. He will get a part of that because he is the first man to start this evil action. Adam and Hawa were in a lot of grief, losing both of their sons. So they lost two sons, one to death and the other one to shaitan. Hawa cried a lot, and Adam said the women of this world will have more emotion than men would. Not that Adam didn't cry, he cried too, but women will have more emotions than men would. Hawa gave in her lifetime 20 births in her lifetime. Adam continued to advise his kids and grandkids about shaitan. As Adam got to old age, he appointed his son Seth to be his successor, which in Hebrew or English they call them, in Hebrew and Arabic they call him Sheath, but in English they call him Seth. Seth will become a noble prophet. When Adam death was near, he said, "Oh my children, indeed I feel an appetite for fruit of paradise." Because Adam lived up to 960 years, that's how much he lived. So he kept remembering how Jannah tastes, how paradise tastes. Now Adam told his kids to go by the mountain. There you'll meet the angel and they will give you the fruit. So they went searching from what Adam requested. They met with an angel that said to them, "O children of Adam, what are you searching for? Where are you going and what do you want?" They said, "Our father is sick and he has an appetite for the food of paradise." The angel said, "Go back, for your father is going to meet his end soon." So as they returned with the angel, Eve saw the angel. She recognized that one of them is the angel of death that's with them. So she threw herself in front of Adam, and Adam said, "Leave me, I come before you, and I will die before you, and I want to go back to my Lord." So they took the soul, they wrapped him, and they dug a grave and laid him in it. They prayed on him and put him in the grave, saying, the angel said, "O children of Adam, this is your tradition. So whenever there's a death, this is your tradition, this is how you bury, and this is how you gather." Before his death, Adam assured his children that Allah will not abandon you. He will always continue to send prophet. Now our main topic is the beginning of creation, but the beginning of creation is linked to the story of Adam. So we can't leave the story of Adam, because technically the story of Adam falls in a different category, which is the history of humanity of the prophet. So we had to mention the story of Adam. Since we mentioned the story of Adam, we're going to mention another prophet after Adam, and we will pause from there. So Seth, as I mentioned earlier, which in Arabic or Hebrew calls him Sheath, he was born to Adam and Eve after Cain killed Abel. He received a revelation from God following Adam's death. So after Adam passed away, he became a prophet, and Allah bestowed 50 booklets of revelation upon Seth. God told Seth that brothers should, so that the rule was the twin can marry the opposite twin, because there was no human before that. That rule is no longer valid. Nobody can marry anybody now. So the sisters and the brothers from opposite gender cannot marry. So this was a new rule that was different from Adam time. Qabil lived across the valley. So when Qabil took his sister and he kidnapped her and went to the other valley, he lived across the valley. And the Sharia, the law to Seth is instruct your people, since you're a prophet, instruct your people, you are not allowed to mix with the people on the other valley. Now when Qabil passed away, his descendant multiplied, so they overpopulated the valley. So he had children and children had children, so they had a bigger population in that valley. And people back then would live even up to 1,000. So it wasn't like us, we live up to 50. They would live up to 1,000, so they would see many generation and people overpopulating. So on Qabil's side, Allah tested both sides. On Qabil's side, the women were attractive, but the men were not as handsome. And on Seth's side, the men were handsome, but the women were not as attractive. So this was a test, unique test. Iblis heard of the rule that Allah doesn't want them to mix. Iblis began to plan, how can I get these people to mix together? And Iblis disguised himself as a man. He went to Qabil's side, and he's pretending that he is an outcast. He's been kicked out from the Seth side. and he was asking for a job, so they hired him to work as a blacksmith. So as he's working for a blacksmith, he is creating new tools that they haven't seen, and he created something called the flute. And the flute, he began to make unfamiliar sound. You know, the flute, the music flute. He began to create unfamiliar sound that they never heard of. And he also made small drum and creating new inciting sounds that they never heard of, which is later to be called music. People from Seth's side were amazed that this sound were, it gave an inciting sound. And they said, wow, these people are much talented. So the people on Seth's side are hearing the new sound that they created on the other side. And they're saying, wow, these people are more talented and they are more advanced than us. Seth continued to remind them of Allah's command. You are not allowed to go on that valley. You're not allowed to mix with these people. They're there and we're here. Two different valleys. So the valley of Seth and the valley of Cain. However, Shaitan tempted them to sin by introducing them to an action they were unaware of. And this is how musical instruments were created. This is the first time in human history music was created. As people listen to more music, their bodies start to move with the rhythm, and that gives you dancing. And that dancing came right after music. So music came before dancing. After some time, Shaitan approached the people of Seth in the shape of a young man, sowing to doubt them about the law, and telling them, why can we mix with them? End of the day, they are our cousin. End of the day, the people in the valley are our cousins. So why can we mix with them? What is so wrong about them that we cannot interact with them? What is so bad about them? They began to ask questions. So they went to the people with knowledge and they began to ask questions. And they told them about Cain committed sin, and Allah just doesn't want us to mix with them. That's what Allah wants. And they were not satisfied with the answer. They were dissatisfied. And they said, that doesn't sound convincing to us. That's not convincing us. And again, they had a unique test that there was no paganism at this time. Nobody worshipped paganism. So they were committing sins, but there was no paganism. And their test was one side cannot be mixed with one side, which was a unique test. And some of them gathered together and decided to sneak a peek at the progress on the other side. So a small group of younger men decided to go sneak and look at what they're doing. They came down to the mountain from a distance. They saw everyone partying. Initially, they did not intend to sin. So they did not intend to sin, but they wanted to have a peek. Because the commandment, you cannot mix with them. So they're like, okay, we're not going to mix with them. We're just going to have a peek. However, as they approached, they saw attractive men and women, music playing, and people enjoying themselves. The women were displaying their beauty and interesting. So they're seeing the people are looking from far away, and they are displaying themselves more and more to try to bring them in. And they found so the people on Cain's side, the women found the men much more handsome on Seth's side, and this was so vice versa. So the women found the men more attractive, and the men found the women more attractive. And the young men returned with excitement, telling their peers how much they were missing out. Soon, more groups followed them, each larger than the last. So each group that goes is bigger and bigger, and they would stay up all night partying. The men from the prophet of Seth clan also noticed that the beauty of the women from Cain clan. Many men began to attend late night parties, even the ones that were married. They would commit zina and adultery. The women from Cain clan were surprised how handsome the men from Seth's side. As a result, many men fell for this and engaged in mixed gender party, adultery, and zina. And they started praising the beauty of these women and how enjoyable life is. And that's why Allah told us, Ya ayyuhan nas amanu la tatba'u khutuwat ash-shaytan. Do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. After Seth passed away, so after the prophet Seth passed away, generation and generation passed by. Now the two valleys became into one city. So the two valleys mixed up and they became into one city. And music and adultery and zina and corruption filled the day and night. And Allah sent And the second prophet after that, does anyone know? We talked about him before. Idris. So Allah sent Idris, and Allah gave victory to Idris, and he ended the corruption with the zina and the music. And after Idris, does anyone know which prophet comes after him? Noah. And Allah sent Noah. So paganism did not start with Idris' time. Nobody worshipped rocks, nobody worshipped tree. That started with Noah alayhi salam. But at the time of Idris, everybody still worshipped Allah, but they were engaged in adultery, zina, and party. And that's where music starts. Now again, our topic is not linked to this book because the prophets have their own book, which is the history of humanity. Now when we started doing this a year ago, does anyone remember what's the first topic we did? I'm sure most of you guys were here. The first topic we did was actually Adam alayhi salam. And then we continue doing it every week. What do? We did all the prophet stories. You guys remember that, right? All the prophet. Then after the prophet stories, what do? We did 28 prophet stories actually. 28 prophet stories. And after that we did, what you say? Yeah, we did before that we did the signs of Judgment Day, right? Then we did Judgment Day itself. Then we did death. Remember that? Then we did paradise. We skipped one thing. Do you guys know what we skipped? Jahannam. What is it? Jahannam? No, we did Jahannam. It's right there, the book. We did Jahannam. What we skipped?
The story of the last prophet.
Yes. So Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is actually supposed to come before Jannah, Nar, paradise. The reason we skipped him because it's a much, much bigger book and it will take a long time to finish because we're going to go in details the beginning of his life towards the end, which I would estimate is going to take up to 3 months to finish his whole life story. It's a big book. It's over 400 pages. So that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to start the seerah, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his story, from the beginning of his story all the way to his death. And that's going to be a long topic. I would advise you guys to come early next week because we're going to start